rich, hot, and free. So I was talking with a girlfriend of mine the other day on a call because we're both in a season of transition. I'm 1 year into this brand. She's also reinventing herself and what she's known for and how she speaks to her audience and all of this kind of stuff. And I was saying to her, you know, it's so funny being on the other side of this is now like my second or third reinvention. The one thing that has become abundantly clear for me in this process is that no amount of strategy will ever outperform your identity. And one of the key pillars that I think is critical to identity work, personal power work, is the work of standards. And I really honestly believe that the difference between women who do 100 grand a year, 200, 300 maybe, and the women who hit 1 million and beyond is standards. And not just, oh, I have standards, but like ruthlessly unapologetic, non-negotiable standards. And so that's why I wanted to do this episode, because one of the things I love so much about my work is watching women rise into this next level of their own power and identity and self-leadership, and standards is such a massive part of that. You know, I've had a client of mine since 2021. Her name is Rochelle. She came into my world, well, mine and Josh's world, back in late 2021 and really started hitting her stride with us in 2022. And she's worked with me ever since then. So I've watched her go through so many seasons of her business. And this year specifically, I have watched her just catapult into a whole other stratosphere of her own growth. And her and I were talking, I was just on a call with her, but we weren't talking about it this time, but her and I were previously talking because she's had to navigate a lot of things and she's had to release a lot of things and had to release a lot of people in order to experience this level of growth and leadership that she's currently experiencing. And so I've watched her, upgrade her standards around her dream buyer. I've watched her upgrade her standards around who she has on her team, her price points, her offers, her marketing, her messaging. Like, I've watched her go through so many different seasons of this. And at the root of all of that has always been her standards and like what she wants to experience versus what she is no longer willing to settle for. I've also had another client go through this process. I've been watching her on this trajectory as well. Her name is Corey. And I've watched her really raise her standards around how she sells her programs, what she will and will no longer tolerate inside her groups, how she prices things, how she sells things, how she messages things, how she leads people. Like, it's just been such a thrill to watch what happens when these women actually implement this work into their business and what happens because of it. And then also, of course, I've just seen it in my own business and my relationships, my marriage, like especially in my marriage. And then also just in how I lead myself, like who I am willing to surround myself with and who I'm not, truthfully. And it might feel like, I don't want to say harsh. It might feel harsh, but it really is just operating through a lens of like, this is what I'm available for, and this is what I'm no longer available for, and then actually acting in service of that, because it's one thing to say you want to raise your standards, okay? It's very easy to do that. Oh, I want to raise my standards and call in this. It is a whole other fucking beast to actually be the one who holds those standards, especially when they're challenged by people or circumstances or things outside of your control. So this episode is really about becoming the version of yourself, becoming the kind of woman who doesn't just talk a big game, but actually walks that talk and holds those standards. And because of that, people people rise to meet them. And the ones who aren't at that level or can't rise to meet them will self-select out. So what are standards and why do they matter? Well, first, standards are like the bare minimum of what you tolerate or how you allow yourself to be treated internally and externally. Okay? They're not goals. They're not affirmations. They're how do I want to say this? They're like boundaries for your energy and your relationships and your identity. And like I said, what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. And they define how you show up. They define how you sell. They define how you lead yourself. They define what you will allow and what you won't allow. They define what you allow yourself to go for. They define how you move and how much money you spend and how much money you make and who you hire and who you fire and who you align yourself with and what you no longer tolerate. And so you don't just set your standards once and are like, sweet, done. It's you live them, you calibrate to them, and you evolve alongside them. And as so happens, you continuously raise them, or at least I do. Like I am always looking for ways where I can raise my standards. I'm always looking for areas in my life where I'm settling for things that actually do not match my standard. And then I'm examining, why the fuck am I doing that? And then I uncover what I want to set the standard around, and then I raise it. And then I do the work to become the version of myself who can actually hold that standard. So I don't actually think you get to your highest and brightest self with your current set of standards. Okay? Hear me when I say that. You will not hit your highest goals. You will not be able to step into your highest identity with your current standards. They are not a match. Okay? And you will not be able to, like, your identity will never outpace your standards. So you do not get to your highest vision. You do not get to your highest level of power, your highest and brightest self, if you don't have the standards that support that. That's where we're going today. And I'm going to kick this off by listing out the savage standards that I currently live by. And I'll just quickly say before I get into this is like, really, this has been some of my deepest work for myself. Like really working on my own fear of judgment, criticism, rejection, like all of that. I have a whole episode coming around that. But also this, like allowing myself to have standards, allowing myself to have fucking needs, and then not just like uncovering them for myself, not just identifying them, but allowing myself to speak them out loud, which sounds so insane. But I am on the other side of like, I don't know, man, like probably 2.5 years of work around this, allowing myself to not just have needs, but communicate them and really go to bat for myself for them, and allow myself to have standards and continuously raise them and be able to communicate them and hold them. Like that has been some of my deepest work. So it's one thing to raise your standards. It's a whole other thing to be the version of yourself who actually holds them and then deals with other people's pushback or projections around you and your standards. So a lot of people will say, oh my God, you're so high maintenance, or oh my God, you're this, that, and everything. It's like, no, bro, you just don't have high standards. So I operate under a identity of that I'm actually quite low maintenance, but I have high standards. So when I was hiring my private teacher, when I was hiring my housekeeper, like those are things that I said to my life team is like, listen, Josh and I are very low maintenance and we have high standards. Honest to God, this sounds so sad, but I can't imagine like 18 months ago, Jill, ever being able to say that with like full conviction and not giving a fuck what someone else's reaction to that is. So yes, you can be the one to say you want to have high standards, but it's a whole other ball game to then actually hold them and then communicate them and then navigate / deal with / detach from other people's projections around their opinions of you having high standards. So not everyone's going to be excited about it. I'm sure you know that, right? But if you are solid in them, if you are crystal clear on them, and you have done the work, the personal power work, the identity work, the emotional awareness work, the emotional intelligence work, to understand that this is how you best feel supported, this is what you need to operate at your highest and brightest, or at least this version of you at your highest and brightest, then once you realize that, once you do that level of work on yourself, that's when it becomes easier to not just upgrade your standards, but actually hold them and kind of operate like in an energy of being unbothered by other people's projections and bullshit that they might throw out at you. Because most people do not have the level of emotional awareness or self-awareness or emotional intelligence that a lot of entrepreneurs have, because it is such a game of perpetual self-development and evolution and expansion and personal power and identity. So yes, not everyone's going to be stoked about it. And also that doesn't mean you can't have them or hold them or do whatever you want to do. So that's what this episode is about. And I would say that the most important part of raising your standards is actually setting your standards in line with who you want to be, not who you currently are. And this is a biggie. A lot of people set standards with who they currently are and what they're currently tolerating. And that's fine if this is your first step into the world of standards. But what I love doing is setting my standards in service of who I want to be or who I know myself to be at my highest and brightest. And I set the standards that match her. And then I do the emotional development work or the emotional awareness work around allowing myself to navigate whatever comes up in service of me being her. Okay? So, like I said, set standards based on who you want to be, not who you currently are. Because women who have high standards are totally fine being misunderstood. Maybe not totally fine, but they're like 90% fine with being misunderstood, because they know that the people who are committed to misunderstanding them are the ones who actually settle for less than what they want and then complain about it. And since they've done the work around emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-leadership, personal power, all of that kind of stuff, like that kind of work, that level of work goes hand in hand with standards. And once you realize that the people who settle for less than what they want have issues with your standards and you holding them, you become unbothered by it because you're like, well, I don't want your life. No offense. I want this for myself. And so I'm okay with you being bothered by it because I'm still going to do what I want to do. That is the work of standards. That is the work of personal power. You being unfazed and unbothered by other people's opinions or projections or their opinions or their projections around what they think you should do or who you should be or how you should act or behave or move in your life. So since you and I are the kind of chicks who love showing ourselves what we're made of and will take any chance to deepen our power, I have faith that you can handle this work and that you'll lean into it. So let me share the standards that I currently operate with right now. And then as you listen to this and as you do your own work around this, then you can tell me what standards came up for you or what ones you're going to be setting or, your non-negotiables. I would love to hear the feedback on that. And also, I'm just going to quick say, I imagine that my current set of standards is actually probably like a 6 out of 10 for my future self. I would imagine my highest and brightest self, the version of me who's doing all the millions and, living her best life. I imagine that the current standards I'm setting, while I might feel they're currently expansive, I imagine that she would think those are a 6 out of 10. So that's how I operate. It's I'm always trying to stretch myself in service of expansion. Going back to that whole episode on episode 2 around intentional discomfort. I'm always almost what do I want to say? Not being a psychopath around it, but kind of being very unhinged around how much I will always chase my next edge, how much I value expanding in service of growth and alignment, even if it feels uncomfortable. And I think standards falls right into that category because it will trigger all of your people-pleasing tendencies if you struggle with that. It will trigger your fear of rejection or your fear of being misunderstood. And also, they are in service of you in your highest alignment and growth. And so you should set them no matter what. So here are the current standards that I live by in service of my highest alignment and growth. So first is that I don't do anything for free. Now, I know that sounds cheeky. I'm going to do a whole episode around this, but I'm being really real. I don't do anything for free in a sales capacity. I have high-ass standards around only working with buyers. Okay, so I don't do anything for people who aren't all in. I don't do anything for free for people who don't have skin in the game. I am ruthless about that. If someone needs something for free in order to decide if they want to work with me, then they can listen to this podcast. They can watch my content on social media. They can sign up for my newsletter for free. Like they could sign up for Rich Hot and Free newsletter, totally free. But in a sales capacity, I refuse to do anything for free. So I have a lot of free options, content, podcast, newsletters. But if you want to work with me, and you need something free in order to decide if I'm quote unquote worth it, or if my offers or my level of intelligence or skill is quote unquote worth it, then I'm not your girl. And so I went buyer first in February 2020, and I never looked back. Like the second I did it, I raised my standard around it. I couldn't unsee what happened because of it, and I literally never went back. I talked through this entire methodology actually inside my program Buyers. It is like all of this process, and it comes with a custom personalized AI buyer first strategist. So I'll drop that link in the show notes, but my whole offer around buyers is this methodology. If you also vibe with not doing anything for free, if you're like, I don't want to fuck around with freebie seekers, I don't want to like have these extensive pre-launch runways and these long ass launches just to sell someone an offer, I would so much rather just sell them an offer, then I think you're going to love Buyers. So I'll drop that link in the show notes. But I like to think of this as a very like circa 1990s Linda Evangelista, like I won't get out of bed for less than $10,000 kind of vibe. So that's what I think of when I think of not doing shit for free, is like, no, I will not work with people who do not have skin in the game. Now, am I saying you have to operate under that standard? Yes. I'm kidding. I'm just going to have a sip of my drink. Hold on. Yes, I am saying that. JK, you don't have to, but I do believe that it's one of the best things that you could do in your business is going buyer first. So that's one. Another standard that I absolutely swear by is I don't sell what I'm not sold on. So here's the thing. If you are not 1000% sold on what you are selling, like if you are not energetically backing it, if you do not feel strategically aligned with it or emotionally aligned with it or energetically aligned with it, I'm telling you right now, people will feel that. Like if you're creating an offer or if you're trying to sell an offer just because you think people will buy it and you will make money, I'm telling you right now, people will feel that. They will be able to tell that you're just in it for the money. Like if you aren't fully convicted in your offer or in your ability to lead it or to sell it or to fulfill on it or to like embody it, embody the results of it, embody the value of it, people will feel that. And the energetic match to that mentality or the energetic match to that frequency is people not being sold on your offer. If you are not sold on your offer, there's no way other people will be sold on your offer because they are feeding off your conviction. So next time, if you have an offer fall flat, or if you've ever experienced this for yourself, you got to check in with yourself at that moment and ask yourself, was I fully on board with this? Was there anywhere in my energy that I knew I did not want to sell this? And if so, where is that resistance coming from? And then let yourself sit in that space, sit in that void until you have the clarity. Because if you try to sell things that you are not sold on yourself, it will fall flat. People will feel it and they won't buy. And then you're going to feel frustrated because you're going to be like, oh, I spent all this time and all this effort on doing this thing and I thought it would sell. But deep down you knew that like, I don't really want to do this. People will feel that and they will respond to that. And the response to it will be no sales and or lackluster sales. The third standard I operate with is I do not outsource my power. So I think that a lot of people outsource their decisions or their vision for their life or their offers or the direction of their business or how they market or the content they create or, the direction of where they're going or where they live. They outsource all of those decisions or all of that inspiration or all of that clarity and direction to other people who don't have to live their lives or run their business. And I think the real reason underneath it is because they deeply crave external validation and external approval, other people's approval, instead of valuing their own internal validation and their own self-approval. And this can get really sticky because what they don't realize is that other people's validation, other people's Approval of you is subjective. It can change on any given day based on how they're feeling on that day, which will then have you at the mercy of other people's emotions and other people's vibe and other people's vision for how they think you should live or how they think you should run your business, which ultimately, if nothing else, leaves you miserable and feeling unfulfilled. And that is the biggest mindfuck in business. When you think that you're doing something for yourself, but you're actually doing it to please others or get other people's approval or other people's validation, and you do it in a way that is to serve other people, it is so deeply frustrating and unfulfilling and empty when you finally realize, wait a second, I don't actually want this. I have been there. I have done this to myself so many times. So this is why I feel like I can speak on it so clearly. If you are chasing other people's approval for your life or your decisions or your business, if you are chasing external validation around what you sell, how you price, how you market, how you message, how you show up in your content, if you are leading yourself through a lens of what other people will think, that is a fast track to misery. I fucking promise you that. And it will leave you feeling so empty in your success and so unbelievably unfulfilled. And that is the shakiest place to be in business because it really messes with you, especially after it's made you a whole bunch of money. I remember this so clearly from back in, oh man, when was it? Like maybe 2016. We had just had our first big launch. And I remember feeling so unfulfilled by it. I was just like, it really messed with me. I almost felt like numb. I was like completely disassociated from it, and it really fucked with me. And in that moment, well, at least it started the first domino of I will never do something for other people that I don't want to do myself. Because once you find yourself in that trap, like if you are not sold on something you're selling, don't sell it. If you are like, it's your business, so you can do whatever you want to do. But even if it was like 5 minutes before I was meant to go live with a launch, and all of a sudden the clarity clicked in for me that like, this is not my path. This is not what I'm supposed to be selling. If it were me, I would cancel it. I would never move forward with it because 1, it's never going to sell the way that you want it to sell. 2, it'll feel so empty and meaningless to you. And 3, you'll never get the results that you actually want, just not even for yourself, but for your clients as well. If you are not energetically on board with what you want to sell or what you want to say or how you want to lead your life, don't do it. Also make your own decisions and trust your own instincts. As I'm like dishing out all this advice, I'm like, and also don't listen to me, trust yourself. Instead, you get to decide what you want to do. You get to decide if your life or your business or your direction or your level of freedom or where you live or who you love or what you want to do or how you want to grow, you get to decide if that's enough for you. No one else's decision or no one else's opinion or their projections around anything you choose to do means anything. You're the one who sets the tone for that. You're the one who sets the standard for that. And remember, they don't have to live your life. They do not have to run your business. They do not have to live where you want to live. They do not have to create the content. You have to do that. And so it's highly important that you create, do, sell, fulfill on, lead, whatever you want to do. Okay? It's a you game. It always is. Oh, and another part of this is I do not take advice from people who don't have the life that I want. I don't explain myself to people who are committed to misunderstanding me. I don't explain myself to victims. I don't explain myself to anyone really anymore, but I don't take advice from people who don't have businesses at the level that I want. I don't talk about business to 9-to-5ers. I rarely talk about the things that I'm up to or the values I hold or my beliefs or anything like that. I rarely talk about that stuff with people who aren't in the ring because I don't know if this is going to sound controversial or whatnot, but whatever, I'm going for it. I concretely believe that the normies cannot/will not/do not understand our life. And so there's not one fucking part of me that ever tries to make them get on board because I don't want to live a normie life. And so I don't need to talk about my decisions or my direction or my values or where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm selling, what I'm pricing, the money I'm making, who I have in my life, who I don't have in my life. I don't need any of their approval, input, or advice around that because they're not living the life that I want. And so I don't outsource my power to them. So I don't know if that sounds sassy. I'm sure it does, but also it's the fucking truth. And also, when you anchor into that for yourself, if you haven't already, it will open up so much mental white space for you, because you're no longer concerned with what people who aren't in the ring might think, say, or believe about you. I swear to God, it'll open up so much fucking freedom for you. Fourth standard I live by is that I do not avoid discomfort. I lean all the way into it in service of growth. So we talked about this in episode 2, intentional discomfort, but I really do not view discomfort as a danger. I view it as a portal. So is it the most comfortable thing? Absolutely not. It is probably the least comfortable way to live. And also it's the thing that leads to magic. And so I go into this in way more depth in episode 2, so I won't get too in depth on that, but this is a huge standard for me, intentional discomfort. I often feel that women who normalize discomfort normalize higher cash months. Women who normalize discomfort make faster moves. Women who normalize discomfort experience exponential growth and wild levels of momentum and wild levels of alignment and people and opportunities and possibilities and all these like abundance fueled, opportunities would probably be the best word for that. All of these things flooding into their life. I often feel like those people experience that at a higher rate because they pursue intentional discomfort and they lead themselves in service of being the version of themselves who has high standards and is not willing to settle for anything less than everything she wants. Casual, I know. I also think that leaning into discomfort versus shying away from it is what builds a rock solid / unwavering level of courage and resilience and strength, personal, inner, mental, emotional strength. It's like, what do I want to call it? Like emotional fitness. Tony Robbins calls it emotional fitness. Like really going through some shit in service of your own growth and alignment is emotional fitness, because the more stuff you navigate, the more stuff you trust yourself to lean into and handle and resolve for yourself, the less it impacts you in a negative way. And so you build your emotional fitness in service of your growth and alignment. And because of that, you're more unwavering, you're more resilient, you're more courageous than most people who try to go after their dreams. Now, the fifth standard that I absolutely swear by is leaning into hard conversations in service of alignment. Okay, so leadership requires honesty and transparency, even when it's inconvenient. All right, so I view this standard, for myself at least, as an act of service towards the people that I love or the people that I value, the relationships that matter to me. Okay, so I will never let something go unresolved. I will never brush it under the rug because I don't want to lean into a hard conversation or I don't want something to be uncomfortable. If I love you, if I value our relationship, if you matter to me, I am 1 trillion % prioritizing hard conversations if and when they need to happen. Because if you matter to me, if I love you, if I value our relationship, that matters so much more to me than momentary discomfort. So that looks like for my marriage, obviously, my son, my family, my friends, my team, my clients, my peers. Like if there's something that's up for me and I can just fucking feel it, there's no way I can just brush that under the rug and pretend it doesn't happen. I don't know. I feel like you can smell it on me if I am like, I have something to say, but I won't for some reason have the courage to say it. Like you'll never find me in that position. I might take a bit to like actually bring it up, but I will always have a hard conversation in service of alignment. I can think of so many different areas of my life where this has happened recently even. I've had to have a hard conversation with a couple clients. I've had to have a few hard conversations with my team members. I've definitely had some hard conversations in my marriage. I've had hard conversations with our private teacher. I've had hard conversations, like just basically everyone and everyone. My mom, huge. My dad, huge. My sister, I've had a lot of hard conversations with her in service of alignment. If I love you, if I value our relationship, there's no way I'm letting things go unspoken and just fester all of this resentment and lack of connection. Connection is one of my highest values. not to like have a quick tangent on my values, but we're going to have a quick tangent on my values. Some of my highest values are number 1, courage. Number 2, authenticity. Number 3, connection. Number 4, freedom. I won't keep going. I'll stop there. But another one's audacity. I could keep going. But truthfully, because it's in service of my values, I will always prioritize having hard conversations in service of alignment. It's who I want to be. And it's what I value in relationships. I don't want to be with someone who can't tell me the truth. I don't want to be with someone. I don't want to be the person in a relationship that makes someone feel like they can't come to me with something that is troubling them or is coming up for them or is feeling deeply present for them. I want to be someone who other people feel safe enough to come and have a hard conversation with because they know I can hold space for them and I can handle whatever they throw at me. Remember, other people's projections, other people's emotions, other people's opinions of you doesn't have to mean anything about you if you don't want it to be. You do not have to hook into their opinions or their judgments if it doesn't match up with who you know yourself to be. Now, am I open to, objective exploration into where I might be dropping the ball? Absolutely. 100%. I actually value and am very open to those conversations because I'm always looking to get better. That is a standard that I hold in my life, right? Excellence. So I value hard conversations in service of alignment because I value high quality relationships. I value high quality dynamics. And I concretely believe that that comes through connection, transparency, honesty, and emotional stability, like being able to hold someone in their own, like when they're going through it or when they have something to express, or being able to hold myself when I have something to express. I deeply value that. And so I set a standard around it and I will not waver on it because I actually view it as one of the highest forms of respect and connection and love and valuing someone. So I feel like I hammered that one, but it deeply, deeply matters to me. All right, next one is I do not apologize for being big or being seen. I used to apologize a lot for it. I used to apologize to a lot of people in my life for being quote unquote bossy or quote unquote assertive or quote unquote bold or, cocky or aggressive or whatever fucking dumbass label someone's going to put on me. I used to hook into their opinion, make it mean that it's true, and then I would apologize for it. Until I started doing the work of standards. Now, I do not apologize for being my big ass self. I also think that that's come through like starting to really understand human design and understanding the Enneagram. So I'm actually bringing, well, for sure I'm going to have someone on about human design. Absolutely. I can't have a podcast and not have someone on about human design. But one of my first guests is actually going to be Tracy O'Malley. And she is a wildly powerful Enneagram expert. She's also an Enneagram 8, but really learning about my Enneagram 8-ness has been a massive permission slip to allow myself to be all of myself. Learning about my human design as a quad-right splenic 1-4 manifester, that has been enormous. Like the biggest permission slip I've ever given myself to be my big, bold self. So no, I don't apologize for being bold. I do not apologize for being sassy or audacious or daring or cheeky or direct. And I sure as shit no longer apologize for being seen at the level that I want to be seen at. So I view this as like my visibility is not a threat for people. My presence is not a threat for people. It's a gift for the right ones. Okay, so if I refuse to water down my message. I refuse to water myself down. I refuse to drop my power or my potency in service of making other people comfortable, because I know that the right ones, the ones who are meant to be in my life, in my relationships, in my offers, in my world in general, the right ones will get it. And they'll value it and they'll appreciate it, and they won't make it mean anything about them, how I choose to act or lead myself or live my life. Okay, so the right ones will get it. And if anything, like I said, I'm not trying to water myself down. If anything, I'm trying to amp it up. Like I'm always looking for ways that I could be more direct or bolder or more clear or more audacious or more, what's the word I want to say? Just more courageous in allowing myself to be seen in my full power. Now, was I always like that? Abso-fucking-lutely not. This is maybe 18 to 24 months in. Like, this is very new for me. I'm going to do a whole episode about this next week around like becoming unbothered and unfazed by other people's projections, rejection, criticism, judgment, all of that kind of stuff. This was one of my biggest shadows ever. One of my biggest wounds. I operated under a belief that women will either attack or abandon you until I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm just going to be real. Until I was like, I'm 44 now, probably until I was about 42. Like, it was big for me. And for a long time, I didn't even realize it was happening. And so now that I'm aware of it, I do not water myself down anymore. I do not operate in pick me energy. I do not apologize for being my big ass self. If anything, like I said, I'm always trying to amp it up and be more of that. How could I embody a deeper level of that in a way that is anchored and grounded, not performative, just true to me? And I concretely believe that when I am my big, bold self, the right women are magnetized to that. Now, as similar to me as like the women who are out there being their big, bold selves, I am magnetized to that. All I want to do is hear what they have to say. All I want to do is work with them. All I want to do is buy their offers. All I want to do is be in their world. If you are big, bold, and audacious in a world that really doesn't encourage that, I want to be in your world. I want to be in some level of proximity with you. And that's why most of the women in my life are big ass personalities. It's funny that I have so many Enneagram 8s in my life as my deepest, closest friends, because both, not just girlfriends, but also guy friends as well. Like some of my dearest guy friends are also Enneagram 8s. And I think it's just because 8s see 8s. You know what I mean? Not everyone, I think 8s are like, someone just told me this actually, that a female Enneagram 8 is the second rarest type in the Enneagram. So I feel like 8s see 8s because most of us were conditioned to be people pleasers or to not be big or to not be the challengers. And once you decondition from that, you want to find other healed 8s who are also in their power and going for big shit. So that was definitely a rant because I don't know where I was. But essentially, I am not here for the chicks who are easily triggered or offended by someone in their bigness. I think that's pretty much where this point ends. It's like, I'm here to activate and serve the women who see it and get it and know that they want to be in proximity to that. That is who I'm here to serve. And if I can help activate someone, or if I can help activate that level of power in someone, I'm all on board for that. Like, that is my deepest desire for people. Like I think I said this in one of my first episodes. It's like, my dream job is being the boss of your life. My dream job is getting paid really well to activate you into your next level of growth so that you can go on and do the big shit that you're meant to do. So, little rant, but that is such a biggie for me. And it's really one of the most recent standards that I've really anchored into for myself. Another one is I do not hold space for non-reciprocal friendships or non-reciprocal relationships. I will not tolerate friends or friendships that take more than they give. I will not hold space for relationships that keep it surface. I won't stay friends with someone who abuses, like who shows up late or doesn't respect my time or is always cancels or always makes excuses for why they can't put in, basic levels of effort. I fucking will not do it. I have no tolerance for it. I have zero space for it. And I think I held on to those friendships for so long, which is why I'm so firm in that, because I know how empty those connections can feel, those friendships can feel, how lonely they can feel when you are in relationship with someone or you are friends with someone who doesn't actually pour back into you. It's just like, I think that this is going to sound harsh, but I think when you continue to hold on to those relationships, you're doing so out of a place of, how do I want to say this? You're doing so because you lack self-worth in that area. You're doing so because you don't value yourself in that category of your life or in that one area of your life or in that relationship. And so you settle for breadcrumbs. I think I just had so many experiences of this because I went through so much shit with women in the past, because I had such low self-esteem around women and female friendships and just my own self-worth. I had so many things to work through, so many layers of that to peel back, that now that I'm on the other side of that, I will not tolerate non-reciprocal friendships. And so I've had to have pretty uncomfortable conversations. I've had to release friendships here in Thailand that just feel non-reciprocal and just like surface and just full of people who don't put in effort. I'm just like, no, I'm a really badass friend. And so I value other badass friends, which is like, I don't know. It's just a standard I've set and I refuse to drop. And even if I was saying this to one of my girlfriends, Jade, who is just such a soul sister for me. And we have met up in so many different countries over the last 18 months. I met her through Millionaire Girls Club. And then we met up in Mexico and Australia and Thailand and the US. And now we might meet up in Dubai. Like, she is the perfect example of a reciprocal friendship who pours into you just as much as you pour into her. And so she set the standard. I told her this when we were on my rooftop. I live in a like penthouse condo here in Phuket, and we were on my rooftop having Cosmos for happy hour and watching the sunset and whatnot. And I said to her, I was like, it's this or nothing. Like, you have now set the standard for me. I fucking refuse to have any friendship that isn't this level of reciprocity, this level of connection, this level of transparency, and like someone holding space so powerfully for me. I will not accept anything less than that. And so I encourage you, if you struggle with female friendships or friendships in general, I encourage you to really explore that for yourself and do the deeper work around allowing yourself to have high standards around who you allow in your energy, who you allow to be friends with you, who you give your energy to, and what you will and will no longer tolerate, what you expect for friendships, and what is the bare minimum, and just really like, how do you pour into the people who really show up for you? Okay, that's a lot. And the final one, I think this is well, all of these are big standards for me, but this one is such a, what would I say? It's a standard, but it's also a value. And it's also just like a rule I live my life by, is I play to win. So this one, okay, wait, I'm going to kind of like go all over the place with this one because it's big for me. One, it's a standard. Yes, it's like a rule I live by. And it's this like ever-present edge that I'm always leaning into, because I'm sure that what feels like playing to win to me right now will feel like playing to not lose in 6 to 12 months from now. Right? So I'm always looking, or I'm always checking my behavior of through a lens of like, am I playing to win with this? And also, like, full disclosure, I do not get it right all the time. Absolutely not. I certainly succumb to fear. I certainly avoid discomfort in certain situations. Like, sometimes I play to not lose, especially when it feels extra stretchy, but I always trust myself to do the work to get myself back into my power and playing to win again. Because I'm the type of chick who loves to push herself. I'm the type of chick who wants to win. I'm the type of chick who loves to go big. I'm the type of chick who values courage and showing myself what I'm made of. And the standard underneath all of that is playing to win. And again, like, this can feel deeply uncomfortable like 70% of the time because it looks like pushing your edges in service of growth. It looks like pushing your edges and leaning into discomfort in service of alignment and showing yourself what you're made of, and going big and wanting to win and doing big shit in the world. Like, I deeply value that. And even though it's uncomfortable 70% of the time, it's that 30% of the time that I just fucking relish in, where it's like everything just feels so like it's just clicking, like dominoes are falling, like you're just on a tear and you can't not win. Those are the moments that I fucking live for. And yes, it might be like 30% of the time and the other 70 feels uncomfortable or feels stretchy, but I still value it because I know that anytime I go to bat for myself through that lens of playing to win, I'm stretching my capacity. Operationally, financially, energetically, emotionally, through a lens of leadership. Like, I'm always trying to show myself what I'm made of. And so I operate under a standard of playing to win. And I accept that most of the time that's going to feel uncomfortable for me. But I do it anyways because I value showing myself what I'm made of. So I don't confuse comfort with alignment. I know that if you want to do big shit in this space, stretching yourself is the bare minimum. It is like the entry level ticket. If you want to do big shit, you have to play big. If you want to do big shit, you have to stretch yourself. If you want to do big shit, you have to routinely step outside of your comfort zone. And so I practice that. I don't let fear drive my decisions. And I actively pursue discomfort in service of visibility, in service of hiring the best team I can, in service of my pricing, in service of who I work with, in service of who I have in my life, in service of the content I create, in service of the brand I'm creating, in service of the value I provide to people. I am always chasing my next edge so that I can always be of the highest value to the people who are meant to be in my world. In a client capacity, in a team capacity, in a friendship capacity, in a love capacity, in a family capacity, all of it. I deeply value playing to win, and I deeply value courage over fear. I deeply value alignment over playing small. I deeply value showing myself what I'm made of versus staying the same and staying in the predictable or the certain or the known or the familiar. Because that, to me, that is where it's just like you slow the momentum. And the second you slow down your momentum, it feels like you're dying as an entrepreneur. Momentum is our oxygen. And I view playing to win as my source of constant momentum. And so I'm always looking for ways to tap into that. So another way that I do this is I really manage my self-talk as well. Like this one is huge to me. In service of playing to win, like you have to manage how you speak to yourself. Okay? Like the shit you say to yourself about yourself deeply, deeply affects you. And it deeply matters in how you show up. And so the opinion you hold of yourself deeply matters to what you create in the world. It just does. If you view yourself as someone who is incapable or someone who is weak or someone who isn't courageous or someone who plays to not lose or someone who wants to be liked or someone who doesn't want to be seen in a big way or someone who is scared of other people's projections or rejection or judgment or criticism or being called out or having mean shit said to them, if you value staying small, you will never do big things in this space. Big income, high cash months, the energetic match to that is not small action. It is not small visibility. It is not low levels of power. If you want to do big shit, make big things happen, make big money, like obscene money, you have to play to win. You have to operate in an energy of, I love showing myself what I'm made of. Okay? So that's a big part of it. And managing your self-talk is like tip of the spear level work for this kind of stuff. So if you know that this work, the work of standards, is an edge for you, but you know you are being called to it, if you've been listening to this as I've been like riffing on my standards and going on my tangents, and you know that this is work that you need to prioritize for yourself, you know that you're on the cusp of your next level of growth and success and alignment and power and magnetism, then I have to tell you about my program called Standards. So it's a 5-part audio series, and it is designed to help you uncover the standards you're currently operating by. If you identify as someone who, doesn't really push themselves in service of growth, or if you currently see yourself as someone who is settling for less than what they want, or you are not giving yourself the permission to go after or become who you truly want to be, then getting this 5-part series is such a fucking no-brainer. It's $77, and it will change your entire trajectory. It'll change your energy. It'll change what you call into your business, your life, your relationships, your money. We tackle all different areas. We go into your self-concept, your self-image, your business, your messaging, your marketing, your sales, your money, your goals. Like there are so many different areas that we go through, and we examine your current standards. We uncover what those are. Then we do the work, the processing prompts to uncover what you want your standards to be. And then we do the work to become the version of yourself who holds them. So I'm going to drop the link in the show notes, but you can also just go over to jillstanton.com/standards and grab it. Like I said, it's $77. You buy it once and it's yours for life. So grab that, and let's start to normalize big magic, big money, big magnetism, big power, big connection, big courage, and a level of standards that match who you want to be. So like I said, the link will be in the show notes, jillstanton.com/standards. And really, if I could just leave you with one thing, is like, what does it mean about you when you go to do this work of raising your standards? Like if I could just leave you with one thing, what does it mean about you if you are feeling called to do the work of raising your standards? Not just in the program, but just in yourself, in your life, in your business, you in living your life. It means you no longer settle for less than what you know you want. It means that you are going to bat for who you want to be. It means that you want to win. It means that you deeply value your level of expansion. It means that you deeply value who you are meant to be. It means that you are done playing small and you deeply trust yourself to rise into your next level of self-trust, self-belief, power, magnetism, leadership, money, and a deeper level of connection than you can possibly imagine right now. If that feels like a zing for you, then one, either listen to this on repeat, or two, grab the audio series standards, pop it into your ears, and see what comes up for you. I would love to hear what comes up for you as you work through those 5 audios. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode. This was a biggie. I love this one. I love talking about this. This is one of my favorite things to jam on with women because I concretely believe only magic happens when women give themselves the permission to be big and audacious in pursuit of who they want to be. So if you zing with this episode, if it jostled something for you, if it activated something for you, I would love to hear about it. All you got to do is shoot me a DM on IG at I am Jill Stanton. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, you know where to do it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Or again, like I said, you can hit me up on IG or TikTok at I am Jill Stanton. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this episode, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.